I give a few seconds, see if anybody jumps on. Driving home from work. I know it's been a, man, I don't even remember the last time I did a video. It's got to be at least a week. And I've got crazy Tampa drivers trying to kill me. Oh, my word. Hey, Brother Jack. I'm just trying to weather the Tampa drivers and keep from them killing me. Hold on, give me a second. If I don't have Tampa drivers trying to kill me, I got dumb pedestrians trying to jump out in front of me. But as I was saying, it's been, well, Brother Jack, you would know, how long has it been since my last video? At least a week. Yeah, it's got to be at least a week, I think, since my last video. But in that time, we thought things were moving at a fast pace before. Now they're just like, what did I refer to it as before? Roid rage. Now I think it's more like roid rage after some crack or meth. Yeah, I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. And so what are some of the things going on? So you've still got, drought in the U.S. that's been going on, and to the point that already I think they said there's been over 1 million acres in the United States burned by fires, and mainly due to the drought. It's just making it a hotbed for fires. Lightning strikes have been causing, some of the fires, as well as, dumb people, probably. Dumb people and whatnot. But anyways, over 1 million acres that have been burned in the United States so far, and I think they said at most, I think it's like an average of 2 million acres are burned in the U.S. on average every year. So we're well on our way to, beating that. You got farmers in California as well as other parts of the U.S. that are especially getting hit by this drought. They're having a hard time growing crops. And any of them that have been able to grow any kind of crops, a lot of them are getting decimated by grasshoppers. So if the drought isn't killing you, isn't killing your farm, then grasshoppers are killing it. So that's just in the UN one minor thing, well, not even minor, but yeah. What else have we got? Oh yeah, now we've got an administration that's talking about, is come out and said they are in full support of any communities or local anything that feel they need to go door to door and verify vaccination or work centers or whatever that make it mandatory. Well, the federal government can't make it mandatory. They are sure doing their damnedest to support anybody and everybody that will do it on their behalf. And I guess there are some communities here in the States, and you can guess which branch of the government they're under control of. And it starts with a D, and it rhymes with Democrat. But they've already started the door-to-door tallies. So we've got that going on as well. What else? Oh yeah, it's come out that they are in support and desiring to monitor text messages to control misinformation. You can kind of see where this is going and what this is setting the ground for and leading for and yada, 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 yada. At this point, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. Then you've got France that actually they're making it mandatory and passport mandatory. So that's some of the things going on, there. And then as far as the Middle East goes, you got Iraq, Iran, and Lebanon and going crazy. Of course, Iran proxies are, you get privacy went out the window with the signing of the Patriot Act. That's all I'm going to say about that. But so proxies, Iraqi proxies have been going pretty heavy on the U.S. according to the news and news sources. Also, Amir Sarfati has been pretty good at reporting on when those attacks occur, and they've been pretty bad and calling to get worse. So we're expecting to see that. Lebanon, I believe the Watchman newscast with Eric Steckelbeck did a little thing on Lebanon and how it's prime for Hezbollah/Iran takeover. So we're kind of anticipating, I think I've mentioned that before. When I first mentioned Lebanon and how they're crumbling, and how I'm surprised Hezbollah hadn't moved in and taken over yet, but they're primed for that. So with everything going on, I'm not surprised. And of course, Iran's been getting hit with all kinds of things, but nobody's coming out and saying what exactly it is. More than likely, there's cyber attacks / special ops, whatever, from Israel. But a bunch of their nuclear sites are getting pummeled, along with, I believe, a power plant too, I think got hit. That one, I believe, was probably cyber, more than likely. And then I read today somewhere, I forget who said it, but Israel's nuclear power plant was having smoke, I think, yesterday or today. I know a couple months ago, somebody had lobbed a missile, Hezbollah had lobbed a missile in that direction and missed it. And then today it was actually smoke coming out of it, and there are no reports as to what yet, but we do know that it was smoking, so that's kind of interesting. Then you got South Africa that is in chaos after their president was jailed, and when I say chaos, I mean it is complete, utter chaos. People getting shot in the middle of the street, by anyone for anything type chaos. You got Cuba that's protests, and one person actually died, and I don't think that's going to be getting any better. And of course, you got people in the U.S. that are protesting on behalf of Cuba. And the Haiti president was assassinated, and now there's kind of some chaos going in Haiti. And so you can kind of see how chaos just kind of seems to be starting to go everywhere. And I think even Iran is having some demonstrations and protests and stuff that they're having to deal with as well. So, I mean, it's just kind of all over. But again, none of this is really surprising because the Bible, said that, not these exact things in this exact manner, but, we had plenty of warning in the Bible that these types of things would be going on as the time drew near towards the end. And as I've said before, and as Perry Stone has said before, as the rapture gets closer, then all these events are going to happen a lot faster and with a lot more intensity. And that's kind of what we seem to be seeing, just the world going on fire in a hurry. So as I said, roid rage on crack is kind of how I'm seeing it. I think we got another high watch period. We're at the point, I was talking to Brother Pete about this too. I've been for a little while. Every day for me is a watch day. I mean, we're at the point I believe it could happen at any time. If you look at the fig tree prophecy and do the math, it doesn't really take Einstein to figure out, hey, 2021 is the most probable year, and then taking in other prophecies as well as the Antichrist reign and Jesus' second coming and yada yada yada, and the Antichrist reign ending in fall and Jesus coming in fall. You can kind of see 2021, if we're understanding everything correctly, 2021 is the year, and tribulation's got to start fall sometime of 2021, if we're understanding prophecy correctly. I listed off a few reasons, and there's just a whole bunch more, but it would take way too long to get into. But if we're understanding the fig tree prophecy correctly, and we're understanding, the double meanings of the different feasts and what Scripture said about them, as well as prophecy surrounding them, then the tribulation's got to start this fall. The tribulation starts when the Antichrist enhances the peace deal of Israel and many nations, brings peace in the world for 7 years. What a great person, right? Yes, lawlessness. Yes, lawlessness is getting warmed up. Well, I think lawlessness is past warmed up. I think it is the opening pitches before it gets and allowed to get into the game, so to speak. So the tribulation starts at the signing of the peace deal, and and that starts a 7-year clock, and then Jesus Christ comes at the whatever feasts, or fulfills those prophecies surrounding those fall feasts. It doesn't take too much time to figure out when fall is of 2021, and we're already in the middle of July. And of course, the rise of the Antichrist isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time. So you can kind of guesstimate that, there's a reason why I've said, I believe, I understand that the higher watch times, and I agree there are things that happen that cause for a higher watch time, but for me, it's every day. That's just where we're at, because it really, in my mind, in my understanding, it can happen at any time. Before this video, the phone could fall and be onto the seat, show the top of my truck as it gets wrecked on the highway. Or it could be tomorrow, or next week, or next month, or next year, or whatever. However, I personally, as I've said before, I'd be more surprised if we see 2022 than if it happens this year. But that is why we watch. We wait and we watch, and we occupy and redeem the time. Now, the next high watch time, and I know a lot of people are talking about, and this is a thing that since it was first brought up to me, and I think Brother Pete brought this up to me a couple weeks ago, and as soon as he, brought it up, and I asked, okay, well, what exactly, he brought up the 9th of Av, and I was like, okay, what is the 9th of Av? And he told me that was that's a day that Israel remembers the destruction of their two temples, because the two temples, even though it was, I think, hundreds of years apart, the two temples were destroyed on the same day of the year. And Israel, has the 9th of Av to remember the destruction of both temples, along with the sorrow and what we know as judgment that immediately followed. Okay, the Babylonians, they destroyed the first temple and then took the Israelites and put them into slavery, and then the Romans destroyed the second temple, and after that Israel was scattered all over until 1948, when they finally had a country again, which then started the fig tree countdown. or what we understand as the victory countdown. So as soon as he explained that to me, I was like, that makes complete sense to me. So one of the first things that someone said to me, and things just kind of started clicking in my mind. And I kind of shared with him. I was like, well, that makes complete sense that the 9th of Aviv would be a high watch time, because if the destruction of the temple is what brought in judgment for Israel both times that the temples were destroyed, and they lost their temple, and the tribulation is judgment on the earth with more of a specific focus to bring Israel back to God, then if the temples being destroyed started the judgment, then judgment on the earth, wouldn't that start with the removal of the church? Which I've explained before, the church isn't that, when we say the church, we're not referring to, your church down on the end of your street, or, the building that you go to for church. Church meaning the body of Christ. Every single true believing Christian is the church. And at the rapture, Jesus is going to take the church, in a twinkling of an eye, off the face of this earth, disappear, and be taken into heaven with him. So doesn't it make sense that if the temple is being destroyed, brought judgment against Israel, and pretty immediate, then wouldn't removal of the church